So what makes a crossover a crossover? First of all, it blends the characteristics of a traditional SUV with that high ride height, those plastic claddings. I've always talked about those black plastic claddings, and that usually constitutes a crossover. So SUVs that run on a car platform. And that's what we have right here. What's going on, guys? Roy Robles here from Zigwheels.Ph, and today we've got one of my favorite cars on the road right now. It's the Suzuki S-Presso SE. Now, we reviewed the Suzuki S-Presso exactly a year ago, and I told you that it's one of my favorite cars because of how cheap and cheerful it is. Don't believe me how cheap and cheerful it is? Check out these key fob. The key fob actually has this kind of like an emoticon smiley face on it. It's just quite cheerful in my opinion. Now you got this front end right here. Now the front end certainly resembles most of the other SUVs in Suzuki's lineup, particularly the Suzuki Jimny. But the previous model, the vanilla variant I might add, usually doesn't have all these features you have right here on the SE. The SE has these brushed aluminum look. Don't get me wrong, these are all plastic. It's also got this skid plate right there at the bottom, plus even more of these black plastic claddings all around it. You got these squarish headlamps. They're halogen headlamps. Got this really small hood right here with a single sprayer there, and this the tiniest little windshield wiper that you ever did see. You also have a bee sting type antenna right there on top, which really fits the entire bill. I love this blue color, by the way. The previous Espresso was usually only available in those gray, the dark gray, and the red was actually looking really good, but the blue one just really pops. Now, before we head on over to the side, I want to take this opportunity to look at the engine under the hood. So under the hood, oh, wow, by the way, this is really light. It's kind of small and really, it's just quite a joy to open up. Under the hood, you've got a 1-liter 3-cylinder naturally aspirated engine that makes 67 horsepower and 90 newton-meters of torque. Now, usually that kind of engine would pretty much not be able to fill up the engine bay, but in this case, it really fits there really well. Plus, from the looks of things here, the clearance is really decent, and if you want to have this repaired outside of the casa after your warranty is expired, you can easily do so, and mechanics will be able to fix this no problem. Now, heading over to the side profile of the Suzuki S-Presso SE, kind of reminds me of Exhibit in Pimp My Ride. Hey dog, I heard you love skid plates, so you've got skid plates all around. You got skid plates up front, skid plates on the side right here, plus even more of the black plastic cladding. You won't see that black plastic cladding on the vanilla Espresso, but instead you find that right here, which leads me to the question, how soon can we call this a crossover SUV? I mean, really guys, the only thing lacking from this are those roof racks or roof rails up top. It's even got those ridges on the roof that kind of really resembles an SUV. You got this blacked out B-pillar, and of course the really small side mirrors. You even have the spoiler right there up top, and I really think that the overall look of the Suzuki S-Presso SE completes the entire package and what we've been looking for in the Espresso. You still have the 180mm ride height right there, and this time around, instead of having steelies, you have alloy wheels. Those are still 14-inch alloy wheels, so they're really small, but the thing is about that is that you have them for fuel economy. We'll talk about fuel economy later on. Heading over to the rear of the Suzuki S-Presso SE, you see even more changes. Remember those skid plates? You get even those right here in the rear. They kind of have this brushed aluminum color look to it, which I think looks really nice. You got these C-shaped tail lamps right here. They're just halogen, but they get the job done. Now, about the Suzuki Espresso, yeah, it's kind of like a hatchback, kind of like a crossover SUV, but I'm really missing the rear windshield wiper. I mean, guys, hatchback owners out there, you know what I mean. When you have this rear design right here, you really need that rear windshield wiper because this thing gets dirty really fast. But at least it's got this nice look to it. It looks clean. But here's a real nice quirk that I want to show you guys. Now, I've been reading up on forums and some friends who bought the Suzuki Espresso, and they told me there's only one reverse light right here. And they actually go back to the dealership and tell them, hey, there's only one reverse light. What's going on? But that's actually a deliberate design for the Suzuki Espresso, probably to save up on the bottom line. If you want to go aftermarket, you can actually have some guys install another reverse light right there, but as it comes out of the factory, you only get one reverse light. Now, opening up the Suzuki S-Presso, you won't find any door latches right here. You will have to use your key fob. So doing it old school right here. Opening it up. And there you go. You got all this space for all your crap inside here. And I gotta say, this Suzuki S-Presso, despite its diminutive size, still has space for all your luggage. Plus, you got a tonneau cover to cover up any prying eyes, make sure that they don't see any of your insides of your the hatch right here. Plus, if you need even more space, you can fold the rear seats down. They don't fold 60-40, 50-50, or 33-33-33. They just fold one whole slab down, just giving you that little extra space. So yep, when it comes to practicality, the Suzuki S-Presso really hits the mark. Let's take a look at the inside. All right, so we're inside the Suzuki S-Presso SE, and right here on the driver's seat, I kind of remember this being a lot smaller the last time around when I was driving it, but I think that's just my eyes creating some sort of illusion for me because of these, you know, silver strips, silver bezels around the center console, the center stack right here. You know, these three stripes right here, it kind of reminds me a lot of the Suzuki livery we can find in their motorcycles or even their cars. But yeah, it's a nice touch, I gotta say. Overall, there's practically no changes apart from those bezels there from the vanilla S-Presso. You still have this circular center stack right here that has the touchscreen infotainment system. This is pretty much not an infotainment system because the only information that you'll find right here is for the Bluetooth, basically for the media. This does not even have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, but the thing about that is that it powers just 2 speakers inside. I mean, 2 speakers, I know this is a small car, but I wish being an SE model, which they can price higher, they can actually put at least 4 speakers inside. I really like how the AC vents are up top right there because you definitely won't be having any space in the middle anymore. Still have some blank switches right here, hard plastics everywhere, more of the silver bezels on the door panels as well. You don't have a center armrest, so yeah, that's going to be hard. So I've driven this really far. It was quite a feeling actually. It was very terrifying because the rain was so hard. I was on the highway traveling at 80-ish kilometers per hour. And it's quite a feeling, but I gotta say the Suzuki S-Presso is just definitely meant for city driving because you don't have that center armrest. You got your AC controls right here, they're manual, don't wish for anything automatic. You got a 12-volt socket right here and a USB port, but since it does not have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, I guess it's only for charging or if you need to put in your media right here. Now, a few more quirks. This thing definitely has too many quirks. Now, like the vanilla S-Presso, you don't have the Windows switches right here, but at least it's got power windows. It's just located right here in the middle. Easy to reach, and it makes the doors thinner, giving you more space. Still not enough space for me though, but you can't stop me from not loving this car. It also even has these manual side mirror adjusters, which is really accurate, guys. Now, let's talk about the second row seats. All right, so we're in the back seat of the Suzuki S-Presso, and even though I'm sitting behind my, well, sort of optimum driving position, I still find a lot of space for me in the back seat. You got a lot of room for your knees, your feet. It doesn't feel cramped here at all, for my legs at least. But for my pretty wide body right here, no. Probably sitting 3 people is a bad idea, but that's why you only see 2 headrests right here. You can seat 3 people because you got a lap seat belt right here for the middle person. You don't get any toys to play with apart from this bottle/cup holder right there. You don't have bottle holders by the doors, but what you do get are these windy windows in the rear. 90s kids, you remember this. I like those windy windows. What it does is that it enables Suzuki to keep these doors really thin, giving you even more space. I imagine this having one of those power window features, but it's gonna have this huge assembly right here that's digging against your ribs. So yeah, good one on Suzuki in that one. You still have the silver bezels here, no map pockets, no AC vents, no USB ports, just space. Nothing much to say here. Headroom is great, even though I'm wearing this huge cap right here. It's okay. Now to my favorite part. Let's take this baby for a drive. Let's see how that 1-liter 3-cylinder engine works with a 5-speed manual. All right, so we're behind the wheel of the Suzuki S-Presso SE. And first off, I want to start with how it feels to be in the driver's seat behind the wheel. So someone such as myself, to be 5'10.5", a bit wide and on the chunky side, I find the seats to be a little bit, they're really padded. They're comfortable in a way that it's like sitting on a couch, but like a couch, it doesn't offer a ton of support. They don't really keep me to where I'm supposed to be. So for spirited driving, no, you're not going to want to take this out on the road. Plus, the steering wheel is non-adjustable. Let's talk about what's under the hood. Horsepower and torque. We're going to talk about 67 horsepower and 90 Newton meters of torque. You might think that's not enough for this kind of vehicle, but hey, we're talking about 770 kilograms of weight in this one. So you don't feel a lot of hesitation from the engine, especially with the 5-speed manual transmission. Manual transmission is really the way to go, especially for these small, underpowered cars. It really helps out a lot with trying to modulate whatever is under the hood right there. And it's no problem for the Suzuki S-Presso. Let's talk about how the drive feels. Well, first of all, when it comes to suspension, you've got your standard McPherson struts up front, really tiny McPherson struts, and a torsion bar rear suspension. For a car this small with this smaller wheelbase, it doesn't really matter if you've got independent suspension in the rear, because it really works as it should, and it's really very chuckable. It's got a small turning radius as well. Going around a U-turn is no problem for the Suzuki S-Presso. It's a really fun car to drive, especially in the city. Now, I would advise against going out on the highway or taking this canyon carving, because with the high ride height, 180 millimeters, you definitely feel a lot of body roll right here whenever you're driving. But it's really par for the course, especially for a small car, for this mini hatchback. Oh, sorry, mini crossover. Suzuki's not calling this a crossover, but it's just me calling it as it is. NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness. That's one feature that this thing definitely has a lot of. Right now we're going up a hill here and wringing every bit of ounce of power out of that engine. And yeah, you can definitely hear a lot of engine noise from up the hood right there, and a lot of road noise. All right, let's talk about safety features. When it comes to safety features, the Suzuki S-Presso is definitely not lacking. Now, I know there are a lot of reports out there where of course, the Suzuki S-Presso in India, it's got a 0-star rating. But that's talking about the base variant of the S-Presso. That really doesn't apply to the Philippine variant. Because this one's got dual airbags. 2 airbags up front. You got seat belts with pre-tensioners. Plus, it's got Hardtech. Hardtech is Suzuki's technology where they actually make the body, the frame of the Suzuki S-Presso, or their cars in general, more rigid. So in the event of an accident that, of course, knock on wood, wouldn't want to happen, you're definitely protected on the inside. Now, apart from all that, the Suzuki S-Presso also has ABS with electronic brake force distribution, and apart from that, nothing much else. Now, the Suzuki S-Presso starts at 563,000 pesos. Now, for the SE variant, you've got everything that you have right here for 588,000 pesos. Although the price increase might bring it somewhat closer to some other hatchbacks out there, you still don't get what the S-Presso offers. You get this higher ride height, you got this crossover look to it, plus you get Suzuki's expertise when it comes to small cars. And 588,000 pesos, it still is one of the cheapest or one of the most affordable cars out on the road right now, brand new. Try looking for a 588,000 peso brand new vehicle right now, offering the same amenities and the same looks that the S-Presso gives you. I think you'll be hard-pressed to do so. So there you have it, folks. We've seen how it looks from the outside, how it looks from the inside, and feels as it drives. But let me tell you 3 things that I don't like about the Suzuki S-Presso SE and 3 things I really love about it. Let me tell you the first thing I don't like about the Suzuki S-Presso. It's the interior amenities. I mean, sure, it's got some improvements over the vanilla Espresso, like those silver accents and all that, but it's still the basic car that it really was. You got non-adjustable seats, non-adjustable steering wheel. You really can't get the optimum driving position inside. Plus, you only have 2 speakers. I mean, come on. 4 speakers inside this small car would have been banging. Second of all are those wheels. I mean, 14-inch wheels on a supposed crossover. That's just really too small. Plus, it can barely get any grip on the road, especially during these wet conditions. But thankfully, it's got some safety features what we'll talk about later on. And I gotta say, you gotta go ahead and change those wheels. Those are some easy fixes right there. 15s or even 16s would be perfect in this one. All right, now the third thing I don't like about the Suzuki S-Presso SE, well, it probably would be the price. I mean, when the Suzuki S-Presso was first introduced, it was a really compelling buy. But with all the additions that we have right here, you gotta think for yourself, would you rather get the vanilla espresso, which is somewhat cheaper and more affordable than this one with all those black plastic claddings and alloy wheels, which you'll be replacing anyway? Now let's talk about the things that I really love about the Suzuki S-Presso SE. Now there's a reason why the Suzuki S-Presso is one of my favorite cars on the road right now. In fact, you can see it right there. It's printed on my shirt next to the AE86, next to my own Civic, the Type R. It's really one of my favorites, and if you don't believe me, yes, it's right there. So the first thing that I love about it is its size. Guys, I love small cars. You probably know that about me right now. And small cars for me are just so perfect. I mean, some guys would probably kind of look at odd for me to drive something like this, but I gotta say it's kind of quirky, and I love the cheery and cheerful way that this thing really drives. It's just so cute. Second, it's that engine. I mean, 1 liter, 3-cylinder, naturally aspirated, mated to a 5-speed manual transmission. What more can you ask for? I mean, for first-time car buyers and drivers who are trying to learn how to drive, you got to try the Suzuki S-Presso. It's one of the easiest cars to drive despite it being a manual. Plus, it's not really lacking in power. You got 67 horses, you got 90 Newton-meters of torque. It's definitely enough to get through zipping through the city and even out of town jaunts, especially going to Baguio. Yes, this thing can go to Baguio. Of course, the third thing I love about this is the fuel economy. 13.5 kilometers per liter in heavy traffic and 16 kilometers per liter on the highway as I've tested it. It's just something else. These days, with rising fuel costs, and you really can't trust the market right now when it comes to fuel prices, the Suzuki S-Presso's got your back, and it's just amazing in terms of fuel economy. Why buy a hybrid that costs like 1.5 million upwards when you can get 3 of these for the same price? But that's enough of a love fest for this Suzuki S-Presso SE review. I want to know what you think. Drop me a comment in the comment section down below and tell me if the Suzuki S-Presso is a great first car for you, or if you're looking for a second car or something just to chuck around. I want to know what you think. But while you're at it, subscribe to our channel and hit that notification icon so you wouldn't miss any of our videos. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Roy Robles from Zigwheels.Ph, and I'll see you guys next time.